Only through me can you achieve a power greater than any Jedi.
A few moments later.
Stellaris Biogenesis has released an entirely new and updated biological ascension path. However, it's also made psionic ascension the most powerful ascension in the game. In fact, it's the most powerful version of an ascension we have ever seen. It makes virtual look like absolute dog poo. In this video, we're going to run through a build and some variations on that build so you can rush down psionic ascension and maximize your Empire's output. We're going to be getting about 5,000 research, 3,000 unity, and a completely healthy and solid economy within the first 30 years. And I'm going to do all of this on 1 times technology cost and 1 times research cost. So sit down and buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. The Chosen are the Empire we are going to use to show off this absolutely broken strategy. You might notice we're starting with a clone army origin. Now that isn't actually necessary. Clone army is not the reason that this build is completely busted at the moment, not even by a long shot. It's simply the best vehicle for getting to where we need to go. Clone armies start with ancient clone vats and they can build 3 additional on top of the 2 they already start with. This is going to give us lots and lots of monthly organic pop growth so we can maximize the number of pops in our Empire as quickly as possible. You could take any other origin that you'd like in order to run this build. You're just going to take a little bit longer to get it rolling because your pop growth will be slower in the beginning than if you compare it to a clone army origin. In terms of traits, we're going to grab Seasonal Dormancy. This gives you a massive 75% reduction to unemployed and denizen pops. Denizens are civilians and maintenance drones. Civilians are the main vehicle that makes this build absolutely crazy. You can only grab Seasonal Dormancy if you pick a mammalian or reptilian species, and this is a trait that comes with Biogenesis. Shelled is the other trait we're going to use. This grants you minus 75% housing usage and plus 10% habitability. It's only available to molluscoid and necroid species, or if you take one of the turtle port traits that has a shell on the back, then you can grab it. In terms of negative traits, I'm going to grab Repugnant and Sedentary. It doesn't really matter exactly what you grab here, however, the main thing I wouldn't recommend is Unruly. We don't want that plus 10% Empire size from pops. It actually becomes just a little bit annoying with this build. Looking at our government, I recommend you start with Democratic to get a tasty plus 10% faction approval, and then as we have Democratic, we should pick Parliamentary System. This is going to mean our faction spawn right at the start of the game, and we'll get plus 40% faction resource output. This is going to give us a lot of unity. I'm combining that with Dark Matter Consortium, though honestly, you could throw basically any other civic in here that you'd like. Civil Education can be a very good pick because we're going to be running a lot of civilians, and Civil Education will give us a lot of additional research if you want a little bit of a research edge at the start. Jumping over to our ethics, I'm going to grab Fanatic Materialist. That's going to help a lot when it comes to picking our Covenant later, and it will give us a boost to research speed, so we will research slightly quicker. And then Egalitarian to give us a bonus to faction resource output that will stack with Parliamentary System as well. And it allows the use of utopian living standards, which will be boosting our civilians even further. When it comes to your ruler, Chancellor Peeve Shelpatine here is an official with principle, though honestly, you could pick whatever you'd like. That's the build. Let's dive in and see how we can use this to break Stellaris. Just before we dive into the application of this build, I do need to say a massive thank you to Joss. Who is Joss, I might hear you ask? Well, Joss is the father of this clone build. The Clonenheimer, if you will. And without Joss's dedication and support, you would not be watching this video today, so thank you very much, Joss. Chancellor Peeve Shelpatine knows exactly what we need to do, and we're going to follow Peeve's lead. First things first, we're going to go to our capital and unemploy basically every single job except the enforcers, and for right now, while I check out the economic balance, the artisans. We'll also unemploy all of our workers as well. We don't need any of that crap. We could probably unemploy the politicians, although that could cause some upset feelings, so I'm just going to leave them for now. When it comes to policies, I'm switching over to isolationist straight away to boost our unity by plus 10%. And you could also at this point move to a civilian economy. It's not really going to change much though. In species rights, you should set your turtles to utopian abundance. That's going to give you a host of additional political power, and all of your civilians will produce unity alongside research points. They also get plus 20% job efficiency, which is absolutely bonkers. Your workers and specialists, if you click priority on civilian, should filter down into the civilian role relatively quickly. At the moment, we're not really getting very much from them. About 60 research, 20 unity, and 70 trade or so, plus a very small number of amenities. However, this costs us barely anything in terms of food and consumer good upkeep. I've also realized that I can reduce the number of artisans I've got, so I have dropped that down to 105, which still leaves us at plus 4 consumer goods. Jumping in to look at trade, I'm selling some food, some energy, and buying 42 minerals, which is the maximum number you can buy before changing the price. And I've disabled my research lab and hollow theatre. We absolutely don't need them. I should also disable this civilian industry as well, because we're getting enough jobs from the mixed industry to work those artisan positions. And the last thing we're going to change over right at the start here is we're going to swap infinite opportunities, which finishes in 20 months, for evolving society. That's going to give us 10% additional monthly unity now, and then if we manage to fire it, a further plus 40%. The initial strategy of this build is all about rushing unity so we can get to our ascension as quickly as possible. For my first building, I'm grabbing the autochthon monument, which will increase my unity per 100 civilians by plus 0.5 and give us an additional 5% unity from jobs. On top of that, because of our ethics, egalitarian and fanatic materialist, we're getting additional research points and trade from our civilians as well. Our factions have also spawned. I've switched over my policy to benevolent subjugation, in subjugation war terms, which has boosted the approval of our egalitarian party a little bit, and I'm going to promote that faction while having the encourage political thought edict turned on to increase our ethics shift chance for pops joining this faction. At the moment, these numbers do look relatively small, only 16 unity, but you will notice that we only have about 2,000 of our 4,800 pops in a faction. As the numbers go up, the output from those factions will increase. But we're 8 months in and we're already making 88 research and 60 unity, which is a very strong, solid start. When it comes to exploration, I'm going to recommend you keep your science ship at home for now and don't really do much. You could go to one jump away, but at the moment, in the first 5 to 10 years, we don't actually want to meet an alien unless we're fairly confident that they are friendly. I'm playing on 1 times cost for research and unity, so this is a normal base cost. We're going to be grabbing first the mercantile tradition, grabbing the left trickle up economics for more trade and amenities per civilian, and then adaptive economic policy. Once we've got those two, we'll switch over our trade policy to marketplace of ideas. This is going to hurt our energy income quite a bit. We'll go from getting 80 energy from trade to 0. However, our total trade income will be increasing. We've gone up to 76, meaning what we can now do, instead of selling 10 energy, is buy 10 energy. Don't forget, if you'd like to pick up Stellaris Biogenesis, Stellaris Season 9, or anything from the Paradox store, you can do so by using our link and supporting this channel. Additionally, you could use our code MONTUPLAYS at the checkout so that a portion of your purchase goes towards supporting this channel. We're now 18 months into the game and we're already on 161 unity per month and 100 research. As soon as the autochthon monument finishes in a moment, that's going to go up to 225. Once the autochthon monument finishes, it's time to start grabbing more ancient cloning vats. I'm going to replace first my research lab and then the hollow theatre, and after that finally use the last slot in the archive to get another ancient cloning vat. We are at year 2, 4 months into the game, and we've completed the mercantile policy. First, I'm going to recommend you grab one vision for additional monthly unity. Welcome to year 5. We're now making 586 unity alongside 265 research. Our economy is healthy because we're getting so much trade from our civilians. We've also had the excavation site, Homeworld Excavation, pop up on our home planet. As soon as this appears, you must immediately begin completing it with one of your scientists. You want to complete this dig site as quickly as you possibly can. On our homeworld, I've actually deleted all of my generator, mining, and agriculture districts. We simply don't need them. And finally, unemployed all of our artisans. We have 6,000 civilians, and we're getting between 50 and 150 pop growth every single month. I also had the energy to clear things like the sprawling slums, so I might as well do that too. But these civilians are currently granting us a massive amount of research, unity, and trade. That trade is being used to prop up our economy, as I mentioned a moment ago, and that unity is actually paling in comparison to our factions. They've now really gotten going, and we're getting a total of 390 unity from our 2 factions. That means I've now taken and completed my second tradition, Prosperity. For your second Ascension perk, if you're going to go for the Nemesis Crisis, which is probably the most powerful way of playing this, you'll want to take Enigmatic Engineering. However, if you don't go for Nemesis, you should then look at taking Technological Ascendancy. These two are very important for rolling our Covenant later on. They'll give a big boost to the demon we need. Welcome to Year 10. I've now taken Subterfuge as my third tradition. This is, again, very important for our Covenant later, and I've taken Mind over Matter. Peeve Shelpatine wants our entire civilization to turn to the dark side. I've also grabbed a xenobiological lab in the archive because we are going to need more society research in just a few minutes. We're now up to 8,400 civilians, producing more research and trade value than ever before. We do need to pay attention to our crime and make sure it doesn't go above 30%. That would be an absolute disaster. We should also, at this point, if we don't want to waste time later on, start building more city districts on the capital because we should have the minerals and energy credits to spare. The faster we get these city districts down, the faster we'll have an Ecumenopolis later on in the game. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, you want an Ecumenopolis. This build is actually one of the tallest playstyles I've ever seen in Stellaris without using very many tall features. As soon as you get your third Ascension perk unlocked, you should also start ascending your capital. Ascending your capital reduces the empire size on that planet, and we must maintain an empire size below 100 in order to be able to launch our agendas early. Once Evolving Society is completed, and you've taken the Mind over Matter Ascension perk, which should line up relatively nicely, you'll then want to pick the Mind over Matter agenda. This will unlock the psionic theory technology. You might be lucky and roll it yourself, but I highly doubt it if you're not producing that much research. Yes, we are making 1,200 unity, but only 300 research every single month. At this time as well, if you have found an alien species, it's probably a good idea to start making first contact. Having contact with one alien species is going to help you quite a lot to boost your chance of getting the right pact. We need to now do things in a relatively specific order. In this run, I've made something of a mistake. I've not placed any of my clone vats on the archive. They're all in my main district. That's a little bit silly. I should have at least one slot open here. I'm also now doing the biocode cipher research, which you get access to once you've completed the dig site, the event has fired, and a little bit of time has passed. Once I complete this, I'm then going to launch Mind over Matter early. I've prioritized some of our biologist jobs. They're going to be producing some extra research for us so we can get psionic theory and the clone fertility projects finished just a little bit faster. With psionic theory done, I'm now going to start completing clone fertility, which will remove all of our clone vats and give us the ability to reproduce organically again. I can also begin psionically ascending, so I'll take the tradition, I'll unlock the Psycore building, Mind Readers, the Great Awakening, breach the Shroud, and get Shrouded Communications. At this point, even if you have additional unity, don't grab further traditions and don't fill in the next Ascension perk. We're going to complete Clone Potential first, and then after we do that, breach the Shroud. We've jumped ahead 10 months, and Clone Potential is now done. The first thing you want to build is the Psycore building on your planet. And after that, I'd recommend you queue up precinct houses in all of the other building slots that have been made available by the now missing clone vats. I'd also recommend you switch over your archives into an urban expansion. That's going to give you more slots available to drop in additional precinct houses. Now, you might think I've gone entirely mad. Why would I want to have hundreds, if not thousands, of additional enforcers on my planet? On the surface, enforcers don't seem very good. They give us a reduction in crime, produce a small amount of stability, and spawn some additional defense armies. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there is a method to our madness. You see, once you build a Psi-Core building, the precinct houses, instead of giving additional enforcers, now give us telepaths.
Beg your pardon.
And telepaths in patch 4.0 are absolutely amazing. Here we have 1,000 telepaths operating as 1,100, and they are providing us with an additional plus 110% resource output from every single job. They're also giving us a boatload of additional unity, and they're all around swell folks. Before you commune with the Ineffable, that's a special project you get access to after you breach the Shroud. You'll want to reform your government, get rid of parliamentary system, you don't need that anymore. If you've made first contact with another alien race, your factions will not despawn, and swap in something like technocracy. You should also place down an envoy in a single alien civilization as a spy network. Having at least one spy network is going to boost our chances in just a moment. Because when we commune with the Ineffable, what we really want to do is get access to the Whisperers of the Void and form a covenant with them. This grants us a special modifier, which will give us more research speed, more influence, more code breaking, a small reduction to stability, and monthly unity. But honestly, none of that really matters. This is not the main strength of the Whisperers in the Void. Before we go any further, I should probably discuss exactly how we ended up with the Whisperers of the Void. So, take a look at this lovely chart. This tells you which different patron has a different preference. We want Whisperers, so we're getting a 1.5 times chance increase by taking Fanatic Materialist. Having taken Subterfuge gives us a 30% increased chance, and taking either Enigmatic Engineering or Technological Ascendancy has increased our chance by another 30%. We've also taken Technocracy, but we could have taken Shadow Council, Cutthroat Politics, or Scavengers to get this done. Additionally, by having a spy network, we're getting a massive 60% boost as well, so that's why it's quite good to try and meet at least one civilization to get some spying done. Taking Egalitarian very much limits our chance of getting Instrument of Desire, and because we really don't want Eater of Worlds, you cannot take Supremacy and finish that tradition, or take any of the war-based civics listed on the bottom left there. Additionally, being a militarist would be a big no-no. The reduction we're going to get to stability is completely ignorable because our telepaths are providing stability. They are not just telepaths but also enforcers still. The two jobs have been merged together. This is a feature of the new 4.0 economic rework, and it does make Psionic Ascension the most powerful ascension in Biogenesis and the most powerful ascension we've ever seen. The numbers we're going to get to in a moment make Virtual look like a complete and absolute joke. I wouldn't wipe my ass with Virtual in 4.0, let alone a previous patch, when I can touch 4.0 Psionic Ascension. About a year after your Covenant forms, you should confirm it. You're then going to notice that your telepaths are not just producing unity, they're now also producing research. Yes, they're going to be more powerful and give us a better bonus than if we had researchers on our planet. And yes, this basically means we no longer have to worry about anything in this game whatsoever. 5 years after confirmation, your bond will grow deeper, and that doubles the research output of our telepaths. You should also build a chemical plants, and probably an exotic refinery and the synthetic crystal plants down in your heavy industry to give you the rare resource output you need in order to start upgrading your precinct houses into halls of judgment that give you additional telepath jobs. It's currently year 26 and we are producing 3,000 research, 2,000 unity, plenty of trade, enough to buy whatever we need, be that consumer goods, be that whatever we want. Part of the reason for this new economic success is that when we research Galactic Administration, which grants us +1 civic slots and resets the cooldown for government reform, Peeve Shelpatine has reformed our great empire into a worker cooperative. That is the corporate government authority, and it gives us access to worker cooperative. Worker cooperatives gives us the mutual aid trade policy that converts a lot of our trade into energy credits, minerals, and food. This means that we have absolutely no issues when it comes to resources because we're getting all of our basic resources from trade. We can use the remainder of our trade to buy additional consumer goods that we need, and then we'll have some catalytic technicians utilizing food in order to produce alloys, and telepaths in order to make research and unity. Of course, we're still getting a boatload of unity from our factions as well, and that's why we're making over 2,000 at year 26. And if you're enjoying this video, please break and abuse that like button. It is now year 30. Don't forget, this is 1 times technology and tradition cost. I have grabbed statecraft, I have grabbed supremacy. I've also taken cosmogenesis as my 4th ascension perk, and arcology project as my 5th. That means once I've added all of the city districts to my capital, I can take the decision to turn it into an ecumenopolis, which is going to give me the ability to get not just 3,000 telepaths like I have at the moment, but around 10,000 telepaths on a single planet. We'll take a look at how broken that is near the end of the video, but for now I just want to draw your attention to the fact that I'm not really bothering to try and do much in the way of alloys. There are only 3 main jobs on our capital: some telepaths, 800 catalytic technicians, and civilians, and through them we are wielding a power hitherto unseen. 5,000 research, 3,000 unity, 60 of every rare resource, some additional dark matter, we'll need that a little bit later, plenty of trade, 200 alloys, and plenty of the basic resources. I'm also buying some consumer goods. Don't worry about the market price, just buy as many as you need. You're going to have the trade value to survive this. As your 4th ascension perk, you could also take the Nemesis Crisis, or if you have bioships, take the Behemoth Crisis. Both of those are completely fine options. If you take Behemoth, you may want to start putting some agriculture jobs on your capital in order to actually get some farmers. You're also going to find as your research times go down, here I'm taking basically a month or 2 to complete pretty much every technology in the game, you'll need to turn on auto research in order to actually keep up with research. I'm at year 60 and I've now completed my conversion on the capital into an ecumenopolis. I've also, either through enigmatic engineering, which gives you a chance of drawing Fallen Empire buildings, or more likely through cosmogenesis, which gives us access to Fallen Empire buildings as well, research the Justice Complex. This is the best building for getting additional telepaths. Each of these Justice Complexes will grant me 600 more telepaths. At the moment, that means I've got 7,300 telepaths on just a single world. This is giving me a total of 26,000 research and around 13,000 unity, alongside an increase to resource output from jobs of 1,058%. Yes, every pop is currently worth 10 pops in our empire. I dare any build to compete with that kind of nonsensical scaling. I actually dare you. Jumping ahead even further, I've now replaced everything on my capital with Justice Complexes, and I have filled up the main district here with residential arcologies. I've got around 13,000 civilians, which are producing plenty of trade value, enough to roll my entire economy. I've got 6,000 catalytic technicians. They are producing 8,000 alloys because they're getting plus 1,600% from jobs just from my telepaths alone. 10,000 telepaths here, which count as 16,000, are giving me 1,648% additional output from every single job I have. I am producing 63,000 research, 34,000 unity, and thousands of every other basic resource. That is partly through worker cooperative, giving us the basic ones, and then catalytic technician providing our alloys, telepaths providing all of our research and unity, and of course the catalytic technicians are also giving us plenty of rare resource income. We're making over 1,000 of each rare resource every single month. This is the most broken, overpowered, and disgusting build I have ever seen in Stellaris, and you only need a single planet to use it. These are the highest numbers we've ever seen, pretty much ever, from just one world. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know if the developers are going to nerf this, but at the moment, this is not a bug, this is a feature. And presiding speaker Peeve Shelpatine absolutely bloody loves it. Don't forget, if you'd like to pick up Stellaris, any of the Stellaris DLC, or anything from the Paradox store, you can do so using our link or code, and also supporting this channel. If you enjoyed this video on Psionic Ascension and how it's overpowered in 4.0, but you'd like a little more help with your planetary management, you may want to watch my video on planetary management in 4.0. If you do, click the video on screen now.